We have just got back from locals and we just got first place.
You'll see just here how many cards I still have after all this time that are yet to be sorted.
I'm just going to show you what my Gimmick Puppet deck looks like. Now that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ways of getting my field spell, and then last up we have got the 2 Chimera Dolls. I finally managed to pick up the second one.
And you'll see me at the camera just there show that I got 3 Planet Pathfinders in my draw, and I was going first, I believe, in this first game.
There are still improvements. I know I said that last week after the top 4, but there are still improvements. And the first one is my side deck. As you can see, quite literally from my profile picture to when I was a kid to the cards that I've got graded, Blue Eyes is my favourite.
So it is locals morning, and you'll see just here how many cards I still have after all this time that are yet to be sorted. I'm doing much better. The pile doesn't seem like it's going down, but inside the box is looking a lot more full. I just need to get the rest of the cards in, and man, this is the most tedious thing, and it's taken so long, and it feels like I'm not even halfway there, but when it's done, I'll be so happy. But I've not got time to do the rest of it before locals, so I'll probably do the rest of it on the way back. What I'll do is I'll show you guys a quick deck build for today, and then we'll get to locals. This has taken so long. I've still got so much left to go.
So I'm just going to show you what my Gimmick Puppet deck looks like. I'm playing a 42 card deck, so it's a couple over the minimum 40, but I think there's so many good cards in there that it's hard to get it down lower than 42. So we are playing 3 Soldiers, 3 Rogue Doll, 1 Cattle Scream and 1 Bisque, 2 Terror Baby, and 1 Drury Doll. That is all the monsters in the deck, apart from hand traps. This is all you need to get your entire FTK combo done. Before this, I was playing a few more, but I feel like actually now that I've got more things to find the mansion, I'm finding myself needing less of the Cattle Screams or the Bisque. The only thing you've got to hope for is that some of these cards don't get banished. Like if this gets banished, for example, not only is the rest of your turn kind of done, it also makes your bigger extensions a little bit harder because you can't detach material to summon it. Now, next up, we're having what I call the field spell part of the deck. So, we're playing 3 Mansion, as you'd expect. We're then playing Terraforming. Obviously, it's a one-off, but we would play 3 if we could, but obviously no. We're then playing Set Rotation with the Secret Village of the Spellcasters. That could be something different, but I think that this one's quite good just to be annoying to your opponent that they can't activate spells unless they flip it up. We're then playing 3 Foolish Burial Goods, and the reason I'm saying this is part of the field spell is because you use it with Rainbow Bridge and your Cobalt Eagle to get a field spell, because you send that to the grave and then you banish it to get yourself a field spell and a Cobalt Eagle. And then last up, we are playing 3 Pathfinders. Now, the Pathfinders are the thing that I'm probably least fussed about. Now that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ways of getting my field spell, having 9, 10, 11, much as that's great, this does use your normal summon, and if you end up using this and it gets Veiled, it can really leave you in like a sticky situation. So if I'm going to keep it for now, just because it has been working, but this is probably going to be the first thing to go if I do end up changing anything about the deck. Next up, we're just going with the other spells and traps. So we've got 1 Foolish Burial, 3 more Foolish Burial, but better, but Condolence Puppet. 2 of the rank up magics. I have debated using one of the other ones. This is called like Numeron Force or something, but I just really like the way this bounces back, and I just don't see the other one being quite as good, so I'm just sticking to what I know for now. We're then playing 1 Called By, that's just in case we get ashed or anything like that on our turn, and it just, I'd rather have this than not. And then lastly, we're playing the Service Puppet Play, which is just what the CXC's monster searches, and it's really good just in case the FTK doesn't go to plan. And then for the last part of the deck, we have the hand traps. So we are playing 3 Go Spell. Not only is it fantastic for us on our turn, because it means that if a Bestial tries to banish one of our gimmick puppets, we can say no. But it's also really good on your opponent's turn, naturally, as that's where it's meant for initially, because the amount of Fiendsmith decks that interact with their grave and so many U-Bells and everything that this card can just stop working is fantastic. 3 Ash, again, just great hand trap, and then 3 Imperm. So we're only actually running 9 hand traps here, which isn't as much as a lot of the other decks, but that's just because you have to make so much room for that FTK to work. Next up's the extra deck. 1 Gigantes Doll, which to be honest is only ever used to get your little soldiers from Rogue Doll, but I do get that sometimes in certain niche situations this can work. We're then playing 2 Fantasics and 2 Fanatics, 2 Grinders and 1 Giant Hunter. We're playing 1 Strings, 1 Dark Strings, and then controversially, I am playing 1 Leo and 1 Disaster Leo. Obviously that's one that I think is a bit more niche to me, but that's just because I like the card. The only other Xyz monster we're playing is number 68. This one you very infrequently go into. It's more for if you've had to pass turn with some rank 8s on your hand and then you manage to get yourself back to your turn, because when you use Rogue Doll's effect, you're locked to gimmick. So this isn't used very frequently, but there is times where this could be a saver. And then last up, we have got the 2 Chimera Dolls. I finally managed to pick up the second one, and it just means that if you run through your first FTK line and you've used your Chimera Doll, but then you don't manage to FTK, I know you're most likely going to by that point. It just gets you out of a sticky situation if you've got a rank 8 and a rank 4 on your field, and your little soldiers was supposed to become rank 8, but then it gets Veilered. It means you can always just use this to give yourself an extra special summon from hand to be able to start another sequence, because otherwise you could just be stuck with a level 4 little soldiers and a Rogue Doll on your field and have to pass turn. The last thing I will show is the extra deck. Now the extra deck still needs some work, but it's a lot better than it was last time I did a profile of this deck, because I actually have a deck, a side deck that makes sense. So first one is Puppet Parade. To be honest, this is probably going to go soon. I've not used it, I've not sided it since I put it in, so probably going to leave. We've then got 1 Harpies and 1 Raigeki. Again, these are just more because I'd had the parade. I didn't want to put 2 of something that I maybe wanted 3 of, so I'm just running these 1-offs just in case, because there are very niche situations where they work. Next, we're running 3 Xyz Encore, 3 of the Book of Eclipse, 3 Dark Ruler No More, and then 3 D-Barrier. I feel like it's a pretty standard side deck, outside of the fact that I'm not playing artifacts and stuff right now. That could be what replaces this, but to be honest, no one at our locals seems to play any kind of Malice or anything right now, so until that happens, this is more my Rizal counter / whatever synchro thing with D-Barrier.
Thankfully today, there is no ice, so we should just be able to get to locals, fingers crossed. It says the roads may be icy, but I think we'll be alright.
So heading into game 1 of locals, we were put up against Chimera Fiendsmith. Now, this game was really interesting. It actually ended up in a draw for game 1 of the day. I ended up losing the first game and then winning the second game. The second game was actually I believe, won on time. Like the match took a long time. Like Chimera Fiendsmith constantly comboing, and then likewise with the Gimmick Puppets constantly comboing. So there wasn't much back and forth there. But it was good to get a nice little warm up for the first game of the day, practice some combos, get completely blocked out by Chimera Fiendsmith as always. But game 1, draw. So, game 2. Funnily enough, this one was actually against Chimera Azamina. So the Chimera is obviously very popular right now at locals. I know there's quite a few people that are either playing it or have been playing it since I started going. So it's probably a deck that I should look more into counters and places to use hand traps, etc. because I come against it quite a lot. So we actually ended up winning this game. We lost game 1, we won game 2, and then the guy wasn't able to go into game 3, so we took it on a DNF. So it's a win. We were going to be going second into game 3, but I've got good faith in the Gimmick Puppets going second, and I've actually been taking a few wins in going second, which is just nuts to think, but it's still a deck that can perform even when it does get a couple of hand traps, a couple of negates, as long as you get the right starting hand. But match 2, win. So here we have match 3. This was against a Fiendsmith Kashtira deck. Now, this one went the full length. This was 3 games. We ended up winning the first game despite going second, losing the dice roll. But we then lost the second game because we absolutely bricked at the start. And we managed to take the win in game 3. I believe it was on time. I don't think we went all the way down. But look, this Kashtira Fiendsmith deck is so annoying because it seems to be, no matter how many times you negate something, no matter how many times you try to stop it, it can just do something at all times. It's always gotten out. I mean, I'm still struggling to find a way that you can't let it do its thing. Luckily, in this match here, I managed to get through it, but it still took a lot of effort. So, match 3, we took the win, but it was definitely a hard one. Right, here we are with match 4. This was against a Fiendsmith Kashtira Mimigul deck. Now, I've not played against the Mimiguls before. I knew it came out in a recent set, but obviously I've just started playing, so I didn't take much to learn. You'll see me at the camera just there show that I got 3 Planet Pathfinders in my draw, and I was going first, I believe, in this first game. So I drew 3 Pathfinders, an Imperm, and I believe the Gimmick Puppet Trap, which is just an awful hand to try and start with. Luckily, we managed to win both these games. So we won game 1 going first, and then we actually managed to win game 2 going second, which was great. The Mimiguls are really good. It was quite annoying to play against, especially considering that there's a lot of Xyzes in that deck, and with Mansion, Xyzes can still do their thing. So the game could have gone a lot better, but I'm really happy that we managed to take another 2-win, no-loss record during a match. And that ends our streak on 3 wins, 1 draw, and 0 losses.
We have just got back from locals, and we just got first place. Undefeated Gimmick Puppet deck. We've been practicing Blue Eyes, but do we even bother now? I never expected to have a first place at locals after 9 or 10 episodes of doing this, and I think we've been to locals like 5 or 6 times, something like that. Gimmick Puppets, thank you for helping me get a first place. I appreciate it. I'm going to continue to play Gimmick Puppets, definitely until Blue Eyes comes out. Even when Blue Eyes comes out, I'm going to be checking to see if I actually want to play it. I'm going to be testing it over the next few weeks, making sure that it actually works for me and that I can understand it, and that, to be honest, it performs better than Gimmick Puppets, because it feels super comfortable to me. I know what the cards do for 99% of them. Like, I still have to read every now and again. I still forget to draw cards. I still forget to do things. But I know Gimmick Puppets. I like it. To be honest, I said this at locals today. It's quite funny because one of the main reasons that I like it is because if you're going first and you have FTK potential, it means you don't even have to necessarily read the other person's deck, cards, etc. Because I'm new, right? I don't understand what any of these cards do. Like, at locals, I'm mostly just looking at what people are doing, and unless it's like a really common meta deck that I've been playing against online, I have no idea what the cards do. So I'm guessing when to use a hand trap, when to imperm, etc. But if you're playing Gimmick Puppets, so often you don't even have to worry because you've already got a win on game 1, and you can work it out on game 2 and maybe even get a couple of wins like I did today in game 2 going second, which is crazy for the Puppets. Or you lose the second game and then you go to game 3 and you have a similar thing again. Like, I like that you don't necessarily have to be that good at Yu-Gi-Oh! To FTK with this deck, outside of knowing all the lines and combos, executing it well. Which, to be honest, if you look at some of the replays today, I think I FTK'd once or twice. Apart from that, there was actually quite a few grind games in there. I was playing against a lot of Fiendsmith today. Fiendsmith is fantastic on the grind game, so I'm really surprised that I managed to take as many wins as I did. 3 wins, 1 draw, no losses, undefeated. Like, I'm so surprised because we were playing against meta-relevant decks. We weren't playing against the rogue choices or these B, C tier decks. Like, Gimmick Puppets is standing up to the better decks, which is just nuts to say. So although we managed to go first place today, there are still improvements. I know I said that last week after the top 4, but there are still improvements. And the first one is my side deck. Now, my side deck is full of good cards that counter a lot of the decks that people bring to locals. But today, I did not use my side deck once. I did the whole pretending to look through it, see if I wanted to side anything in and out, but I never did. I played my 42 card deck as it played every single time. And don't get me wrong, I know it sounds almost counterproductive because we won today even though we didn't do it, but I know that that won't happen every time. So I need to get better at knowing what cards I can side out during the match just for certain situations, so that we can counter some of our opponents more rather than just relying on the fact that Gimmick Puppets are really good at going first. So the Blue Eyes deck is coming out soon. As you can see, quite literally from my profile picture to when I was a kid to the cards that I've got graded, Blue Eyes is my favourite. My main reason for when I first started playing this game again to not play Blue Eyes is because I researched it first. I researched it and found that it can perform okay, but it's not a meta-relevant deck. Outside of one random tournament a few years ago where it ended up topping because of some ban list or so, I can't remember. But now we've got the new Blue Eye structure support coming out, and I think that's a great time for me to start practicing in the background whilst I'm using the Gimmick Puppet deck. The puppets are going to be by my side for at least another month or so until Blue Eyes comes out. But I am going to start practicing with Blue Eyes, learning the combos, picking up some cards here or there to add to the deck if I need it. But we're going to start testing it now. Rather than when it comes out in a month's time, I want to go to locals the week after that structure deck's come out with the best knowledge of how to use it, because Blue Eyes is just the best. I might start testing it and I might hate it. Look, I've pre-ordered 3 structure decks already just because I know that even if, for whatever reason, I really don't like this deck, you can never have too many Blue Eyes cards. But I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case. I could hate it, I could stick with the puppets and job done. But I guess we'll see in a month's time whether A, I've managed to learn the combos, B, the cards aren't £1,000 or whatever, because I know that the Primite stuff's released in the OCG and cards that were £3 are now 50, so that's made a second engine a lot more expensive. So I think realistically we're probably going to go into it playing pure Blue Eyes, maybe adding in a couple of bits here or there, but I don't mind that. I like pure Blue Eyes. Like, the reason I want to play it is to see Blue Eyes, so